Okay, hello. This is another vlog. This one just about my life updates, what's going on recently. So, I've been having a lot of sexual thoughts and sexual dreams, and I'm fighting lust a lot. This one's really hard, for me, and it's like something that keeps popping back up all the time. So, been having like dreams about sex, like having sex and stuff. And honestly, I like them when I'm having them because it's kind of like a pleasure thing. But I'm hoping it's just my brain working through it, this like subconscious desire or whatever. And I'm hoping that if I keep resisting it, keep fighting it, it will die down and subside. Maybe never completely, but to a controllable level, I hope, where it's not like really frustrating and I'm worried that it'll never go away type of thing, because that can really be frustrating. And yeah, there's a cat outside. His name's Cat Bert. That's the neighbor's cat, and he's like messing around with an eaves trough drain pipe, because I think there's something in there hiding from him. So he's just been messing with it. So, the sexual thoughts and fighting lust. This is a hard one, and I think a lot of guys struggle with this. But I've been struggling with this for so long. But I've been, resisting these temptations for the most part. One part where it still gets me is that on the street, if I see a woman who's really beautiful and like shaped a certain way, it's hard for me to not look. And that's like just, that's sinful, that's evil, because it says in the Bible that if you look at a woman with lust, then you've already sinned with her in your heart. So it says something along those lines, like you've already committed the sin of lust or adultery or something like that in your heart. So that one's really hard to break, because sometimes, like today, I was walking to the library, and I was passing by a woman, and like she was really attractive. So it was hard for me to not like look. And also, I think that probably from a woman's perspective, they are aware of this and they know this, that guys look at them. And I think from a woman's perspective, even though they may not like admit it, they do like certain attention. They do like to be noticed in a certain way, but they don't like unwarranted, like what they would call like creepy or being creeped on or harassment or whatever. But they would like. I think women like to be noticed if they're beautiful, but there's like a very fuzzy line that only they know the boundary of, and it varies from woman to woman. And some will say, big cat fight out there. Some will say like that, you know, all men are pigs and all this stuff. But then you have like, those women are like really toxic to be around, like feminist type. And then you have other women who are like very feminine, who, they try to dress nice, and they appreciate compliments. They appreciate men noticing them. They appreciate, feeling feminine in a way, like I don't know if the word respected is the right word, but they appreciate attention in a certain way. So anyways, I wasn't creeping or anything. I just, glanced. But still, it's not a good thing, because it's just a lustful thing anyway. So anyways, I'm fighting against that lust, that's a hard one. I'm always fighting against that. I'm not watching pornography. I'm not masturbating. Even when I get lustful thoughts, I try and think of Jesus on the cross. I actually, I try and like cut it off as soon as I get it, or very soon after I get it, when I realize what's going on, because that's what the priest said that, or not, it wasn't a priest, it was a Catholic speaker. He said that the best time to resist the temptation is when you first get it. Don't entertain it, don't have an affinity for it, don't leave doors open for it, these types of things. So really I'm trying to do that. And honestly, I feel like I could go to confession over this, just because it does kind of make me feel guilty, but at the same time, I'm not sure. Like, it's really tough still at the same time, because part of me is just like, oh, am I just gonna like have this happen again in the future? And like, I'm kind of building that resistance skill right now. And anyways, I do think confession would be a good idea to go to, but at most it would be what's called a venial sin. It wouldn't be a mortal sin, I don't think. But I could be wrong about that. So anyways, alright, so this is a pretty big thing. I've been talking to a girl online, and she's supposed to be coming over to visit me. But the thing is that I'm scared of relationships. Okay, so I've been talking to her for like a few months, and she lives like 2 provinces over, but she has grandparents in this province, like her grandparents. So she's coming to visit them, and then she's gonna come visit me, and this is in a few days or so. And like, it's such a confusion for me, because I'm excited and hopeful. I'm looking forward to it, but at the same time I'm like cripplingly nervous, anxious, and afraid too at the same time. So it's like these competing things going on. Now the reason why, and it doesn't make a lot of sense too, but I'll try and explain why. Because it doesn't make a lot of sense, because I've actually gone on like 100 different dates, maybe. Like, that sounds like a lot, but maybe it's like close to that. And I've like slept with like something like 35 to 40 women, but that was in the old, like that was like in the past. Like, that's what I used to do stuff like that, because I always struggled with this sin of lust. And so I got really good at just like talking to women, and just kind of like figuring out how to basically just sleep with women. And there was sort of like a vague idea of like, eventually, like maybe I'll find the right one, and maybe I'll stop and whatever. And it was just kind of like impure, through and through though, because it really didn't go anywhere, and it was just like really toxic. And it's just like the hookup culture thing. So I think a lot of people can relate to that. The hookup culture thing is really degenerate. It's really bad for society, but it's kind of where we're at. And I'm trying to change. So not very good at like being, I guess you could say, genuinely myself. I feel like I am, but I also feel like I'm not. Like, it just depends on if I'm around like the right people, which maybe, it doesn't sound great, but that's kind of the truth. Like, if I'm sort of like in the environment, or like around the people where I feel like I can kind of relax a little bit, and I don't have to be on guard, then it's not so hard for me to be myself in a way. But definitely, I do feel nervous. I told this girl, I'm so nervous, and you know, I guess she didn't know how to take that. And then she said, "Well, clearly you're too nervous. I'm not gonna. We can just skip meeting." And so I was kind of like upset about this, and I can't really remember what happened, but I just said, I'm still open to meeting. I was just trying to be honest, right? And after a few more messages, she said something like, "We can still be internet friends," and I said, "No thanks." Um, I just don't care about that. And then a few more messages, and I said like, so do you want to come still meet me or not? Like, you know, um, so, and she said yes. So she's probably gonna come here and uh, we'll hang out. But at the same time, I am nervous, and the reason why is because I think about the future. Like I think about like marriage, children. I think about like a lot of different things, right? And then I'm also worried, like kind of about my past as well, which is like I was very abused. I came from like a very broken home, where my dad abused my mom, and where basically I just grew up with like a single mom most of the time, and I had like these, this toxic family environment where it was like a mixture of like um, like pain and being fed all this like stuff about how what you should act like and everything, but never actually feeling any kind of safety, never actually feeling any kind of goodness. And it was just very toxic. Um, and so now my attachment style, if you know anything about attachment styles, which is they're really important. My attachment style is basically like anxious avoidant. Now I'm aware of this. I'm not yet aware of any way that you can change that, but I am aware that it's important to actually know your attachment style, because it will help you to ride out kind of what happens, right? It's kind of like knowing what kind of car you have, or it's like knowing uh, like if there's like a something going on with your car, like you will know like, oh my, the the engine makes that noise, it's okay, right? I'll be able to make it to where I'm going, kind of thing. Or like so anyways, kind of got sidetracked, but anyways, I am nervous, so that's the main thing. But we'll see what happens. I just, I always pray, I always just thank God for everything, and if it's God's plan, things will go well. But that's it doesn't matter how things go. We always have to thank God, even if they don't go our way, right? Like we always have our way in mind, but that's what we want. That's not necessarily what God wants or what God has in plan for us. And we don't even really get to know why. Like asking why, you don't even really need to know why, right? Like that's kind of like what everybody loves doing all the time, is always asking why about everything and then getting some sort of explanation. But actually, the only explanation you can get that really satisfies and makes any kind of sense is from the Bible, right? Like, so the Bible will tell us what's going to happen, what we need to do, and then basically that's how we have to live our lives. And one main important thing about the Bible is that we have to rejoice always in God. When it says always, it doesn't just mean rejoice in like the good times when God gives you a relationship, God gives you a lot of money, God gives you a house, God gives you a job, God gives you people praising your work, God gives you, all these things which people in general really want, right? No, we have to just like thank God when things are not going our way. Thank God when we may feel lonely. Thank God when we may feel sad. Thank God if, we're suffering for years. Like, that doesn't mean we don't fight and we don't try and do our best, but we just always have to thank God, right? Because that suffering is really bringing us closer to Him. And that's a really important thing, which I can't stress enough, is that like the point of life is to be with God, because we're always separated from Him. So being with God is like being with this feeling of love, being with this feeling of goodness, being with this feeling of connection, being with this feeling of cleanness, because God is the most clean, right? Holy means clean. He's the most clean, the most high, and so that's what we're always aiming for, right? So it's important to keep that in mind, because the world really bogs you down with like all this like crazy stuff about like positivity and whatever. Meanwhile, it's completely devoid, completely bleached of God, which God is ultimate meaning, right? So, anyways, that was a bit off topic. But, alright, so nervousness I've been feeling. I've also been feeling a little bit of OCD almost. Like, I wouldn't say full blown OCD or anything, but I was kind of like, just when I get very nervous, so I was having kind of like a symptom of like, just like focusing on my nose and like squishing and picking the different like little I don't know what those are. They're not really blackheads, but they're kind of like little stuff in the pores. You can like squish them out. So I was kind of going a little bit overboard on that, but it's just like kind of like an OCD anxiety thing. And then also I chew my nails. I've been doing that almost my entire life, which I've always wanted to stop chewing my nails, but I've always had trouble with it. And then also I've been feeling like, this is not actually new, but I still have worries about my appearance, you know, just like general self-esteem issues, which is like just kind of worrying about how I come off, worrying about how I look, you know, like worrying about how my face looks, worrying about like, you know, how people react to me and stuff. For the most part, I try and put that out of my mind, and I just kind of try and focus on, you know, where I'm going and what I'm doing and stuff, but it still does get to me for sure. But I don't worry about it as much as I did when I was a kid. I think I worried way more. Kid and a teenager. Okay, so therapy. So I'm having difficulty with my therapist, but I've had difficulty with like all my therapists. And my question is, will I ever find the right one? So in therapy, what matters for you getting better is actually, I think 40% of what matters is the therapeutic alliance or your connection with the therapist. I think 15% is the individual technique. Or no, sorry, that was 30% connection with the therapist or therapeutic alliance, 15% individual technique, 40% extra therapeutic activities, so what you do outside of therapy. And then I think there might have been like a little bit from something else. But so it's really important, like how if you actually like, quote unquote, like your therapist, not necessarily like, but think that your therapist is trying to do the best for you. And so I've been going to this new therapist. It's like a woman, and I just had like such bad experiences with therapists. But the main reason right now is because she just wants to like talk about fucking whatever all the time, like no matter what I bring up. And it's just like, oh man, just let me process the trauma, like let me talk about the trauma, like ask me questions about the trauma, like you know, from my childhood and stuff. Like I don't really want to talk about politics. Like I know there's like connections and stuff there. I don't really want to talk about like all this other stuff. Like I do want to talk about all that like politics and stuff, but the main reason I'm there is like to work through, you know, trauma and stuff. And then the other thing is that she's telling me a lot about her life and a lot about like her views. And if I'm being completely honest, I don't really give a flying fuck. Like I'm not trying to be mean, sorry for my language, but I don't really give like too much of a crap, like because like it's just kind of like an argument, you know. And I'm not really going there for an argument, you know. I'm going in to be vulnerable, right? And you don't really go into an argument like trying to be vulnerable, right? Like, I mean, I don't know, maybe Jesus did that, but also Jesus was like, he's God obviously, but so he knew what he was doing whenever he was like going into a situation. Um, and there's actually situations where he I think he fled. It said in one part because there was people like trying to kill him. So eventually he did go to his death, which was actually his triumph because he rose again. Death had no power over him, but like he wasn't like basically stupid with it, like, you know. And so um yeah, anyway, but the main thing I'm trying to say is my priority is like I'm trying to work through these trauma things. And so I have this big list of all like the traumatic things that happened to me, right? I wrote them all down. Basically, anything that I considered to be an ACE or an adverse childhood event, I wrote it down. And then uh, I've been trying to find like a therapist where I could go over these things basically to process and release and express them. Because, and this is where I get angry, is because it actually helps. It actually fucking helps to do that. The reason being is that when something horrible happens, like a traumatic event or whatever happens to you, um, which is like something, you know, something that you feel like powerless, you have no control or whatever, it actually helps to talk about it, and it helps your body to like release that event. And then so what you do though is you don't just say it once, okay? That's not really how it works. Because we think about things in stories, and it's very related to our identity, and it's like related to our reality as well, and how we see the world going forward. But it's like you have to be able to say something multiple times. You have to be able to go over it. You have to be able to have somebody hear it out, you know. And then it just like, if it was like a charge, like an emotional charge, it allows that emotional charge to lessen and be released and then be okay. Okay, so this, you know, this is from that book, The Whole Brain Child. And then they gave the example about you know, this kid that something traumatic happened to them, and then I think their babysitter had a heart attack, had to go away in the ambulance, or like got hit by a car, had to go in an ambulance. And so this little kid was like clearly exhibiting signs of this trauma, or being traumatized from this. And what the therapist did was they kept bringing it up in like, you know, I gotta say like a safe way obviously, but a way that allowed the kid to explain like their version of what happened. And then the therapist was just like, yep. And then what did you hear next? And then the kid said, and then I heard the woo woo come, the woo woo being the ambulance. And then the therapist would say like, yep. And then the woo woo came, and then what happened? And then the kid said, and then Ia go in the woo woo, like I think her name was Leah. And then the babysitter. And then the therapist just like, oh, okay. And then that's what happened. And then, you know, they do something else, and then they come back to it and say like, and then what happened? And then the kid said, Ia woo woo. And then they just kept going over it. And so it lets the charge go away, you know? So anyways, man, it's really hard for me because I have like this huge list of traumas, and I'm just not really finding a therapist where I can say these things to, right? Like, so I was trying to tell this therapist that I have now, you know, okay, I'm gonna read from my list of traumas today, and it's like all this bullshit I have to hear before I even can like read it, and I'm just like, yeah, I'm gonna read it now. It's like she's like, oh, and whenever you're ready, like we try and make things open, and whenever you're ready, it's like, yeah, I'm gonna fucking do it now. Like, let me do it. Like, don't like this whole bubble wrapping and safety and everything. It's like, I get why they do that. They do that for liability and to save their ass, right? And because they're scared. But when it comes to actually helping somebody, you actually have to like help them go through that scary, difficult place or whatever. And that definitely feels uncomfortable. So it's like not everything's going to be comfortable all the time. So, anyways, I was sharing some of these things, and this therapist was just like not really letting me process, right? So I got through like 4 or 5 of them, and like, so I started getting like tears in my eyes, and then like I was like going like this, like, like, because it got hard to like say these things because I was going through them, and like I was starting to, I don't know what the term is, but get like the flashback or kind of just like a residual emotional pain or whatever. And the therapist was like not letting me sit with it, not just like being quiet, not like, like letting the charge raise and letting it go away. And I'm just like pissed off because like, why do I have to fucking explain all of this? Did you not go to school? Did they not teach you? Like, I went to school, I learned, I read these books, but the thing I know and I realize is you cannot do this shit by yourself. You cannot do all of this shit by yourself. You need help from other people. Like, you can only go so far, right? So I'm just frustrated because I'm trying to get fucking help. I'm trying to get help for this, It's hard. It's hard. It's challenging. And also another thing is that she's like not a Christian, but she like read the Bible, and she's like trying to argue like stuff about the Bible with me, saying that, oh, homosexuality wasn't in the Bible. It's like, or like saying like, the word homosexuality was never in the Bible. It's like, okay, so what do you? I was just like, I'm getting sick of it. I'm like, yeah, but the Bible is clearly against homosexuality. Like, what are you even saying? Like, just because the Greeks and the Hebrews or whatever did not have a term for that, like, read the Bible. Like, it's referenced in the Old Testament and Leviticus that, a man laying with a man is an abomination. And then it also says stuff in other places in the Bible, like in the New Testament, I believe in about Sodom and Gomorrah. I think that's in the New Testament. Or is it in the Old Testament? I forget. But that one, homosexuality was also referenced, and that whole city burned. Like, and it's just clear that it's like one man, one woman. Like, what are you even trying to say? Like, why would you even bring that up? It's stupid. And and she's all about like this perspectives thing, and like, listen, I know this freaking perspectives thing, and it's really a lot of BS. It gets to be a lot of BS because it's like there's kind of like truth in it, but then people don't really know what to do with it, right? And the real world keeps moving no matter what. Like, the real world keeps moving while you're getting all like going crazy about perspectives and how people have different perspectives. And it's like, what are you really saying? Like, I went beyond that, okay? What's beyond that is the real world and interjudge agreement, what people agree on, okay? So I'm just, that perspectives thing pisses me off kind of when people act like that's like the be all end all when it's really just as far as they've gotten. I'm beyond that. That perspectives thing kind of gets on my nerves sometimes because it's like there is truth to it, but it's like, what are people trying to use it to say? Okay, so the gym is going pretty good. my bench press went up and then it went down, and now it's going kind of slightly back up. I'm kind of stuck at 205 pounds for bench press. And I was up to like 4 reps, and then I went down to like 3 reps and then 2 reps, and now I'm back up to like 3 reps. Actually, I want my bench to grow to like 225 has been my goal for a long time. So I'm just gonna keep training, try not to overtrain, try to keep eating. I think calories is the big thing, because your bench is sensitive to your body weight, I believe. So I just have to keep eating a lot of calories, and keep resting, and train the appropriate amount, and hopefully it'll go up. My routine has been going decent. I've been keeping a lot of it. I've added like the rosary. I pray the rosary in the morning. Actually, I think that's huge. I really feel good when I pray the rosary. Like, I feel like showing up for God is so important, and just connecting with God every day. So I've started doing that in the morning. And then the other thing is that I've been going to like the gym. So going for a walk after that, getting like the morning light. It's really important. Going to the gym, getting exercise, and then I go to the library and I read the Bible there. And like, I wouldn't even say like it's always so successful, quote unquote successful, when I do all these things. Like, sometimes the gym, I don't even really want to be there. Sometimes reading the Bible, I'm looking at it, it's just like words that are like spinning, like not spinning, but words that I can't even tell what they mean. But other days it's better. Like today I was able to like really read the words and kind of like understand them. My workout was decent today. But I think the big thing is just like showing up, and consistency as well. So that's really important. And then another thing is that the dopamine detox or dopamine fast. I have been doing well on that in a lot of ways, but I've also been backsliding too with using my phone a lot or too much. And oftentimes I use my phone when I don't feel good, right? It's a way to feel good quickly. It's a way to release dopamine and try and feel good. So I'm still kind of like finding the balance, but I would say that I've improved with that. And I'm also not watching porn, and I don't eat junk food. So those are also big things. I eat a little bit of junk food, not often though. Like, I'll eat like some fast food sometimes. Mainly like, a burger and maybe like chicken nuggets or something. It's still not healthy. It's still junk food, but it's not like really bad junk food like potato chips, candy, sodas. I don't do that stuff. And then so I've been sleeping on the floor. I like sleeping on the floor, and I don't like it. It's hard. I've only been doing it for 2 nights so far, but the thing I like about it is it's improving my posture. So like, I can tell that my neck, like, I'm able to stand up straighter. The thing I don't like about it is it kind of like hurts, and I wake up at certain points in the night and like it's like painful. But the reason I'm sleeping on the floor is I saw like YouTube videos about how it's good for you. It's good for your back, it's good for your body. Like, thousands of years ago, people just used to like sleep on the ground, right? The human body is okay with that. And for me, I have like kind of like a bad posture throughout my life, and I even start to have like back issues sometimes. So sleeping on the floor, I feel like my back actually feels better. My body alignment actually feels better. So that's why I kind of like doing it, and I'm gonna keep doing it. And I'm feeling like more improvement from it. And actually, I think I breathe better too when I sleep on the floor, because my body is like, I don't know, it seems like I'm sort of naturally breathing a little deeper. Alright, so another interesting thing that happened was So I sent a friend a 9/11 video, and I got no reply yet. So this is kind of like basically what I'm talking here about, what it's like being a Canadian, and what it's like trying to have friends as a Canadian, and how difficult it is. Well, first off, this friend, it's kind of a strange situation because it's a girl, and I actually told her, I think I asked her out on a date at one point. So really, it's not really like a friend. It's more like, I would say like I was kind of like the male orbiter, for a while, and then I know it doesn't sound great, but um, okay. So basically, we met through church. We are going to church for a long time, together, and then I found out she had a boyfriend, and so I was like, okay, whatever. But there was no other young people, so we were playing cards and stuff, and after church, and it was kind of nice, you know. It was just like kind of nice to have sort of activity to do, and a routine or whatever, and socializing, and like other people came too, and then she had this like breakup with her boyfriend and stuff. A few months later, I was like, you know, uh, I asked her on a date just to see like, maybe I could find a girlfriend who goes to church. That would be great. It's all old people at church. Um, but then there's this whole thing about like, no, no, because you need to heal and all this stuff. I was like, okay, whatever. And then so I kind of mostly stopped talking to her when I moved, but we kind of like loosely kept in touch. And then because I moved away from that town, and then um, but she is really nice. Like she wrote me this really nice letter. She like made me like cupcakes for my birthday. Um, you know, I don't know. So, anyways, it's kind of like, I don't know what you call that, but basically it's like friend zone at this point, kind of weird. And then so she messaged me on Discord saying like, thinking of you, how's it going? And then I was just like, okay, I guess. uh, I'm watching all these like, I told her I was watching all these like red pill videos on Jews in Israel. So this is the part that's kind of funny, because um, people in Canada like think they're really smart, but they're not. And they think they're so much better than all this stuff, and they're so obsessed with not being called racist. Like being called racist is like kryptonite to people in Canada. It just, they will explode if you call them a racist. They will bend over backwards, do backflips, do mental gymnastics, whatever, just to not be called racist, just to not be called uh, xenophobic, anti-Semitic, transphobic, homophobic, any of those terms, Islamophobic. They will go crazy just to not be called those things. And that's the culture here. So anyways, uh, and then so anyways, I told her, I'm looking at all these videos. She completely ignores it, and she like says something else like, oh, did you find work yet? And like, how's church? Did you find people? And like, it's like, yeah, no, I didn't find work. And church is like all old people and Filipinos. Like, that's how kind of how it is. And she says like, don't lose out on hope, dude. And like, all this, like that, it was just like it was like irritating me. And I was just like, I didn't lose out on hope. There's always hope in Jesus. I'm just being realistic. So for me, like that's kind of the main thing I notice in Canada, is that people are in different realities. And like whenever I try and be realistic, it's like it clashes with everybody's reality. Like, is it all old people and like some Filipinos that go to church? Yes. and she's like telling me like, oh, you know, it depends on which mass time you go to and all this, and it's like, okay, yeah, that's true, but do people not realize that it's like these kind of like what our culture used to be, of like the community goes to church and stuff, and young people go to church, and you could meet like young people could meet each other at church. That's like basically dead and dying, and it's shrinking. So like you have like little pockets of it, and like people don't even want to acknowledge that really. And then it's just messed up, and it's like making people go insane too, because their identity has been messed with, you know. And it's like, so yeah, people are not really like, they're still under like all these like false or these like illusions of like what life is supposed to be like and what was promised to them and everything. And the world is like so changed. It's like so crazy, you know, and it changed so fast too. So it's like it broke a lot of people's brains. And then you can also find whatever you want when you look online, right? So that's why we get all these like different realities basically. And you can find like justifications and reasons for like anything, right? And so it's like basically what you're coming up against is when you talk to people or you bring up reality, is you are basically, it's like you're poking their wound, because reality has like wounded everybody, and no one's really able to deal with that wound and that suffering, right? Because most people are trying to you know, block it out with some sort of illusion, with some sort of like comfort, you know, fast food, video games. For women, I think it's like, I don't even know, makeup and stuff, and like uh, I don't even know, like women are in such a different world. I was waiting for the elevator, and there's like these three women there, two older, one younger, and like they hadn't even pressed the button, and I was kind of like looking at it. I was looking at the thing that counts the floors. I was like wondering like, is it gonna stop here? Like no one, looks like no one pressed the button, and then it went all the way down, and like these two older women are just like yammering, just talking about crap. Like I can't even like listen to that. It's so annoying, and it's so fake too. And then the elevator like goes past us and all the way down, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, they didn't even press the button, and they're like, oh, we did not press the button. Whoops! Oh, it's like, what the heck? Like I don't even understand it. Like, cause I was like, should I like say like, did you press the button, or like walk up and press the button? It's like the whole thing is just weird. Like I don't even like kind of want to engage, you know what I mean? So anyways, I sent her this video about 9/11, which was a really good video. It's like a short on Instagram, just showing, you know, a bunch of clips from 9/11, and then it was talking about Netanyahu said 9/11 was good for Israel, and then it said it talked about the clean break report, and then it talked about all the countries which the U.S., you know, attacked or invaded or whatever, or caused regime change in the Middle East, which was like 5 or 6 countries, and then Iran is next, and then a video of Netanyahu pulled out the map of Israel, and then he flipped it around, and it's like the map of Greater Israel. It's like, yeah, you know, we kind of get it, you know. A lot of people don't get it, I guess, but obviously Israel is trying to take territory, take control, be in charge of the Middle East, right? And yeah, it talked about like the dancing Israelis, it talked about the art students, it talked about, you know, just a lot of, it was a really good video, and I sent it to her, no reply. You know, people don't have an ability, you know, but there's so much other stuff that people can just spend their entire life looking at it, and they don't, they just, it fries their brain to see anything that's outside of what they, you know, what they're thinking, right? But anyway, yeah. So I guess I'm out of time.